I think you really get a sense of what the Rowdies mean to this community when you kind of look around here. On a game like this, July 4th, there's a buzz around St. Petersburg tonight. There's fireworks going off later. And this is a big rivalry here, Strikers, Rowdies. This has been going on for a number of years, and it's been reinvented with the NASL coming back again in 2010.
Tom, you played in the old NASL with the Miami Toros. You played in the USL with the Fort Lauderdale Sun, won a title with them. Now you're the president of the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. Talk about the rivalry with the Rowdies, with Miami and Fort Lauderdale teams going all the way back to 1975.
This has been like a River Boca competition since day one. Back in the day, since the franchises both first started, they've always been the rival, and they always will be.
Here are the starters for your Tampa Bay Rowdies. The captain, defender, number 7, Frankie Sanfilippo. Goalkeeper, number 24, Diego Restrepo.
On the 4th of July, every 4th of July now it's become a tradition, in-state rivalry, Florida Derby. Fort Lauderdale Strikers come to town, come here to St. Petersburg to take on the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Talk a little bit about the rivalry and how it's helped build the brand of the Tampa Bay Rowdies here in the Tampa Bay area, having a rival, nearby rival in South Florida.
It's a big deal. Anytime you've got a historical rival that is close in proximity, it's easy for traveling fans from both teams to make the trip to support their club. It gives everybody in both markets and both cities something to rally around. And we've got the history with each other, not only in the old NASL, but there's history between the MLS clubs, the Mutiny and the Fusion. Fans traveled and supporters traveled back and forth to support the clubs there. But having the Strikers in Florida, basically right down the interstate, is a huge deal. It's very rare, even with those pro soccer has grown as much as it has over the past couple of decades. It's very rare for teams to have a rival like that close, that has potential for becoming one of the biggest rivalries in the country in pro soccer. So we love it, and we wouldn't know really what to do without them.
You're English, obviously. You're a Chelsea fan. Talk about the authenticity Ralph's Mob brings to an experience of game day experience here.
For me, it's unbelievable. I've attended every single game so far that they've had. They're European culture-ish, and they bring a lot of European chants with them. So, yes, and I enjoy it.
Tell us a little bit about your chants, the songs you guys sing week in and week out here at Al Lang Stadium. Were those manufactured, or did that kind of grow organically?
When you're starting out, it's difficult. You want to be original. If that's what you're asking, I think that you're asking about originality. You want to be original, but when you're just starting out, everyone's been hearing certain chants and songs, whether they watch European soccer, English soccer, German soccer, if they've been watching MLS and they see what some of the MLS clubs and supporter groups are singing. So you kind of start out with a template that's developed over the years, and then as you grow as a group organically, you come up with new songs and chants of your own. Like, we've got some things that no one else does. We try to come up with one or two every season that's different. If we are going to steal something, like, everyone does it, everyone borrows from everyone else. It's kind of part of the fabric of being a soccer supporter. You kind of honor other groups for coming up with something cool and original by you do it as well. You put your own spin on it. But every season we do try to come up with something different that fits what we're trying to do, and something everyone enjoys doing, something to get the supporters really up for and to make some noise.
The Rowdies are the only team to have won a championship in the old NASL and the new NASL. Also reached the finals of a couple of NASL indoor leagues, and also in the APSL did quite well between 1985 and 1993. Talk about that legacy and how you've been able to feed off of it in recruiting for your supporters club.
Yeah, it helps that the original Rowdies were a good team. Obviously, they were a top rival for the big clubs in NASL like the Cosmos and the Strikers. And anytime you have a tradition of winning, a tradition of being a powerhouse, it helps. It gives us something to measuring guide to hold the new team to, a standard to hold the new team to. So that's obviously a good thing when you're trying to get people excited. So look, it's a winning club with winning traditions, and we expect that same to continue as the team goes forward in the new NASL. Everyone wants the team to be competitive, and we expect them to be a flagship team and a team that everyone wants to beat and the team to beat.
Talk to us a little bit about the Rowdies' legacy and history and how it helped you connect with the younger generation of fans.
Yeah, anyone that's a soccer fan in Tampa Bay, if you grew up here, you've got parents, relatives, people that were well aware of the Rowdies, original NASL. They were the biggest thing in town for a long time. So, even if you weren't lucky enough to have attended those games, you grew up hearing about it, and you grew up that soccer culture was a part of growing up in Tampa Bay. So when the Rowdies came back, it gave us a very convenient bridge between generations, and gave us something to look back on fondly, and something to hold up as part of being our soccer heritage. It was very positive. It definitely got people excited. It's a very recognizable name. Everyone's aware of the history of the club and what it meant to Tampa Bay. So it was really important, I think, to keep that continuity when the NASL returned and brought a team to Tampa Bay.
One team in Florida. There's only one team in Florida. One team in Florida. There's only one team in Florida.
Andrew Nestor, the CEO and general manager of the Tampa Bay Rowdies, joins us. Andrew, in 2008, you made the decision to bring professional soccer back to the Tampa Bay area, which is one of the best markets in the country that did not have a professional team at that time. Talk about the historic reasons for bringing a team back here and why you embrace the Rowdies' legacy.
Well, yeah, the region, Tampa Bay, always has had a rich history of soccer. The Rowdies were this area's first ever pro sports franchise. And also the Mutiny, as an original MLS team, had a great track record on and off the field. And it was kind of a shame that they didn't find local ownership, and it left a void in this marketplace that had really, for the most part, professional soccer since 1975. So we saw it as an opportunity to fill that void and bring soccer back. And then embracing the Rowdies' history was kind of a no-brainer. It's amazing the amount of goodwill that still existed in this marketplace, even though the team had officially folded back in '93. And really, the height of it had ended with the NASL in '84. So to think that goodwill and recognition carried on in this community for so long and was still around, that to us was a clear signal that if we bring professional soccer back, it needs to be the Rowdies.
Tell us a little bit about those first days coming back, bringing the Rowdies back. I was at the first game with you against Austin at Steinbrenner Field in Tampa, and the city was alive. It was something that you don't see for professional soccer games in the United States anywhere.
Yeah, and it continues that way. Whenever we have big events, most recently playing Seattle in the Open Cup, obviously last year with the Soccer Bowl, and then back in 2010 bringing the team back, and also great events like this annual tradition, 4th of July against the Strikers. We always get a ton of media support, a lot of community support. All the stakeholders, our constituents in the marketplace, and the fans and the community rally around this team. And it really is kind of unheard of in most markets in this country. You don't see that too often.
Tell us a little bit about Perry Vanderbeek. He's the historic legacy of the Rowdies, one of the greatest American players of his generation, if not the best American player of his generation. He's a local legend in Tampa. He's a local legend in St. Louis as well. One of the first things you did when you brought this team back was you reached out to Perry and you brought him into the organization. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, before we even publicly announced that we were bringing a team back, I hired Perry as our technical director. And since day one, he's really set the tone for the whole organization in terms of how we operate professionally as a club, both on and off the field, and then also carrying through that legacy of the Rowdies. He was such a big part of the original Rowdies when he came here in '78. And really was a superstar across the country, as you just mentioned. I mean, he was an amazing player, but he has an amazing commitment level to the sport and to this club, to the Rowdies. He's Rowdies through and through, and he always instills those principles and that attitude in our front office and with the players.
Talk about the rivalry with the Strikers. Obviously, it developed during the NASL days, but one of the great legacies of the APSL is how that rivalry continued.
Yes, that was a great rivalry. I joined the NASL in 1978, and again, just two in-state teams in Florida. And back then they had some top international players. They had Gerd Mueller, they had Ricardo Vila, Gordon Banks one time played for him, Elias Figueroa, who was South American Player of the Year, and of course we had our own top international players. And I was, through those that we built the rivalry. Obviously, being in-state, and it wasn't so much just about the players and on the field, but it was also off the field, because you had the Fort Lauderdale Strikers supporters always coming up, and we had our fans called the Fannies, and we traveled down there. So again, it was always close, and again, their fans would travel, our fans would travel, just to make it that much more exciting.
Let's talk a little bit about the old NASL. You come out of St. Louis, Barry, which is Soccer City, USA, in so many ways. So many of the great players, great names in the game in this country came from St. Louis. When did you first pick up the game in St. Louis?
I picked up the game in St. Louis when I was very young. I was actually, it was a clinic at my church. And back then they had the CYC, which stood for the Catholic Youth Council. And back then, you looked at playing for your grade school team. And actually, when I became 18 and I was drafted by the Rowdies, I was playing in the North American Soccer League against some of the players that I played against in grade school. So if there was 24 teams in the league when I joined the league in '78 in NASL, I would say at least one St. Louis player was on every team. So that's how we dominated, back in the NASL, the former NASL.
And obviously the Rowdies created a legacy here locally, but you guys played a number of English teams. You went on tour in England, and you stood out on that tour. Tell us a little bit about your experience training abroad in England.
Well, there was a couple times that the team actually went abroad, and the teams that came here, but some of the teams that I remember coming here where we played against Nottingham Forest, we played against Norwich City, and played against Stoke City. And unfortunately for them, they came over in the summertime. It was part of their preseason, and we were right in season, so we had no problem in the heat and everything like that, just playing very well and getting good results against those teams. And then obviously in the fall, after our season, they returned the favor, and we went over there and we didn't do so well. I remember the first tour that I went, actually I was playing for the US B team. We played in Manchester against the England B team, and then I slipped out to go down and play against Nottingham Forest, and gosh, I think the end result was 5-6, 7-1. I mean, it was a
Brian Clough team?
Yes, it was Brian Clough's team. Yes, it was. But at that time, again, the guys were just getting ready to go on a break after the season. Some of the guys wanted to be here, some did, but still they're professionals, and I thought we should have done better. Then I jumped back up and continued the tour with the USB team. We did go on tour, I think in 1984. We played against Hull City, Leeds, and I can't remember the other team. And we did okay. I mean, we lost in Leeds, but it was a good performance. And back then we had, they had Gordon Strachan, but we had Roy Waverly, and we had Steve Waverly. So we had a good squad, and I think we performed well. So it was great exposure. It was good branding for the club. And like you said, a lot of people knew the Rowdies.
The NASL collapses, but the Rowdies don't, and you continue on into the APSL and into what was a second division league, but was really the top league in the United States at the time.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about the memories from that era. The Rowdies continued to draw strongly, considering soccer was off the radar in the country, and how that connected the legacies here in the Tampa Bay area with fans.
Well, you're right. Yeah, the NASL did fold in 1984, and then I think it was in 1986, 2 years after that the APSL came around. And again, I'm thinking there was maybe 10, 12 teams at first, and in that league, and you're right, it was not at the status that the former NASL was, but still it was a viable professional team. probably the first division here in the United States. But again, we just pushed along, and the Rowdies, we had some success. As I said, when Ricky came on board, obviously we went to the final and the final of the U.S. Open Cup. But it was interesting because, again, playing these teams, they didn't have the branding that the Rowdies did, and it was almost like we're on center stage at every city we went to.
Tampa Bay Rowdies head coach Ricky Hill. Ricky, talk about this, the historical legacy of the team that you're now managing. You managed the Rowdies in the previous incarnation. Talk a little bit about that and the connection and the legacy and the history of the team.
Yeah, I mean, I came in during the early 90s initially as a player, stroke coach. Well, no, player first and foremost. Rodney Marsh was chief executive who assembled the side at the time. Early in my stay, I was offered the opportunity to become the player coach, and why Rodney saw something within me, I don't know. The coaching staff at the time was Steve Wegley and Ken Fogarty, who hadn't, to my knowledge, done anything particularly wrong, but we'd gone 3 games and we won 2 and lost 1. And Rodney decided to make a change and asked me, would I like to have an opportunity? So it was great. It was my first taste of coaching. I'd always hoped that and envisaged that I'd stay in the game in the coaching capacity, and to have it given to me so early in my at the end of my career, so to speak. I was still playing and playing relatively well. I was delighted. So yeah, that was my first encounter of the Fort Lauderdale, the Strikers and the Rowdies rivalry, so to speak, which has been going on from mid-70s. They are our local derby. They are our nearest neighbours. Even though for me 4.5 hours doesn't seem like a local to you. They're coming from England, you go 4.5 hours and I'm in Scotland, living from London. So that took some getting used to, but no, we look forward to playing the Strikers every time we meet them. We always have close 4 games, and recently we've managed to have a decent record against them, so we welcome them again tonight, and we hope we win the right end of the right result.
Ricky, tell us a little bit about your experiences in the Tampa Bay area with supporters and how the game has grown in the States and the time you were away. You were here in the early 90s, you came back in 2001.
No, most definitely. In the 90s, we were one of probably only 8 to 10 teams that played in the old American Professional Soccer League, APSL it was called then. The USL was still going, USISL at the time. And we were at the Premier League in America. Since that time, obviously, the World Cup came in '94, and then the MLS came shortly after that. And the development, the difference between now, since my return in 2011, to then in the 90s is it's like night and day. The actual country have embraced it. Not only the kids who always played the sport, boys and girls, they have always participated in soccer. Now it seems like the TV companies, the sports centres and various TV media outlets are all covering soccer, which is great. I guess the global brand has also been made more readily available to America and American networks, and I definitely believe that obviously the continuation of the development has helped. The MLS has definitely helped. The World Cup most definitely helped. And in terms of our fans, there's some that have been here from the 70s that are still here, prevalent and still supporting the Rowdies today, in this day and age. And in terms of our growth, the 90s we had a period where the fan base wasn't so great, but it was enough whereby we had the hardcore fans that would come out and travel away sometimes, but more often might be at home. And now we've got a nice fan base at Al Lang who come every week or every other week and really support the team with all their might. And I'm grateful for what they give to this side. I hope the side have done them proud since I've been here in particular. In terms of how we try to play the game first and foremost, how we respect the game for what it is, and we respect them for what they put out and what they share every time that they come out. I mean, we've played as far away places this year as Edmonton and Portland, and there's been a contingency of Rowdies fans there, and I just find it amazing that, you know, it's not like in England where we travel for 2 hours on a train or the cars and you go to support your team. They have to travel, it's a whole day experience, and then a whole day to get back in some cases, and you know, I'm grateful for their support, and I'm sure the players are as well.
2008 rolls around. Andrew Nestor and his group decide they're bringing the Rowdies back, and you're one of the first people they contact. You're one of the first people they bring into the organization. Tell us about how you've been able to link the two legacies, the old Rowdies and the new Rowdies. The only organization, the only team to have won a soccer bowl trophy in both incarnations of the NASL.
Yeah, yes, we started in 2008, and yes, I was contacted by Andrew Nestor and a gentleman named Heinz Howard, again, I was very fortunate to be put in this position. And obviously, I thank them for that, as time goes by. But yeah, we had a situation where we knew that we didn't know, I don't think at the time, because when we first started, what league it was going to be, because it was still trying to be structured. There was some stuff going on with the federation and how we're going to do this. So it wasn't until 2011 that the NASL actually came into re-existence again. So. Again, they just, they knew a little bit about the history, okay, and they were learning. And it was through that they knew that the Rowdies brand was not only nationally, but was also globally. And, they just, we just started, from there, and just, building the team, building the office staff, and, had some success last year, won the NESL championship. And as you said, winning it in two different eras. In 1975, the very first year of the Rowdies, and then in 2012, the third year of the Rowdies in the North American Soccer League.
Talk to us a little bit about winning a second soccer bowl trophy, 37 years apart. Both NASL, the first NASL and the original NASL and the current NASL. You're the only team that's won both. And obviously, you had so much history here in the Tampa Bay area that we stood on the field for penalty kicks, at least I did, during that final, and saw great Rowdies from the 75 team kind of bracketing us. Not many places in the country have that.
Yeah, it's rare to have that history, and it's something pretty special, and that's why we've tried so hard to include those guys with former Rowdies in everything we've done, whether it's with players or just out in the community with events and with our fans. And to have them all here for that game and to be able to capture an NASL Soccer Bowl and bring a championship to Tampa Bay was just an amazing experience. And for us, I mean, obviously the Rowdies has existed for a long time, but for this new organization, it was just our third season. And to be able to accomplish that speaks a lot to the efforts of people like Perry and our head coach Ricky Hill and others that have really helped build a sound organization.